So I think he bought the house in '09, and clearly he hadn't done his homework on the place and figured out where he was buying his beachfront. But it's interesting actually. This is sort of the backstory, but his house should never have been built there in the first place. He actually had the private contractor come in and dump a bunch of sand there to get around the county regulation that would have prevented his house from being built because it's in a flood zone from her. That area had been hit by, I think it was 7 hurricanes in 6 years. And so that where he built the house was in front of the line where you're not supposed to build. So he's from the very beginning, that house was kind of a catastrophe. And him having to try to use his political clout to move the levers of the local government to let it be built. And then he got the house built, and he joined. He wasn't the only one who did this, by the way. There are a bunch of his neighbors who've done the same thing, where he went to court and asked the judge to give him the beach, and the judge said yes. And so for $400, he got a legal decision that granted him the right to all the sand in front of his house up to where the water line was. And a bunch of his neighbors had done this too. And the great deal for him about this was that he didn't have to pay any additional taxes on it. Like, you think that if you have that much of a private beach, like, your taxes should go way up, but that did not happen. And so Huckabee and a bunch of his neighbors have done this. There's kind of checkerboard landscape there where some of it's public, some of it's private. And I guess once he really settled in, he discovered that the public had been frolicking in the sand in front of his house for forever, like 100 years. And he was annoyed by them, and they were interfering with his enjoyment of his property. So he, I think like I said, I'm really rusty on exactly what he did after this, but I think he hired a lawyer. And because the county, Walton County, had passed this ordinance that said that, you can't just declare your spot of sand a private beach. And so he was annoyed by that, I guess, and contested it and brought in a group of lawyers from the Pacific Legal Foundation. And PLF has been there, this libertarian law firm that's been funded by like Exxon and the tobacco industry and the Koch brothers. And they've represented other rich people in fights like in California to restrict public access to the beaches in front of their houses. And they lost a case in California. They lost a case in Florida, actually, the Walton County case, with representing Huckabee and a bunch of his neighbors. They lost that case in federal court in 2017. So without any better legal options, Huckabee then turned to lobbying the state legislature and managed to convince the legislature to pass a bill that it's kind of like a preemption statute, where they gutted the ability of local governments to pass these kind of ordinances that give the public access to what they say are privately owned beaches. So that bill passed with the help of a Republican, not a Republican, a Democrat from Miami, which was weird because she didn't even cover that district. And so once that bill passed, then all these houses, including Huckabee's, they were able to, put up signs saying no trespassing. You can't walk on my beach. Like, you can walk on the one next to mine and the one on the other side, but you can't cross my property to get there. And I guess that's what really kicked off a lot of these fights.